Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 927 of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ. We are coming off SmackDown. A lot of angles took place to set up WrestleMania matches. Got your questions from twitter.com/AaronRift using the hashtag RoadToNoDQ1000. So let's get started today. First one comes from AXH. WTF with the booking? Daniel Bryan picks Randy Orton, not Shane. Shane said AJ should be headlining WrestleMania, but AJ blames Shane. Your thoughts? I agree. I felt that was strange. The fact that Shane McMahon was supporting AJ Styles being in the main event of WrestleMania. Wouldn't it have made more sense for Shane to be against AJ being in the main event? I guess the idea is that Shane can argue, hey AJ, I was the one that was supporting you. Why are you taking things out on me? To set up the conflict between the two of them. To me, it's not really worth getting upset over. I know a lot of people are upset with the storyline between AJ Styles and Shane McMahon, but to me, it is what it is. As far as this match goes for WrestleMania, I think when it's all said and done, it'll be a great match. It's Shane McMahon. He's a McMahon. The match will be a high priority at WrestleMania, and I think AJ will come out of it looking just fine. I think people are overreacting a little bit to it, but I can understand people being frustrated. The fact that AJ was WWE champion and now he's just pushed aside while the part-timers take the top spots. You look at the WrestleMania 33 poster, and again, it's Undertaker, Brock, and Goldberg on the front of the poster, and AJ's way in the back. I mean, people just need to accept that things are the way they are. AJ is in a good spot in WWE right now, and I think he'll do just fine. So, to overreact, I think it's not necessary. And as far as the storyline goes, yeah, I think it could have been done better, but again, it is what it is. Got this one here from Garrison Mendez. The Miz has the best mic skills in WWE, and his ring work is not worse than John Cena, yet he's always been a B+ star. Why? I think it just has to do with the fact that the Miz isn't as physically intimidating as other people. He doesn't really look the part of the tough guy. To me, that's probably the number one reason why the Miz has not been pushed as the top guy or one of the top guys in WWE. If he had John Cena's body, I think the Miz would be one of the biggest stars in the company, but he doesn't, and because of that, he's not pushed at that level. You know, similar to AJ Styles, you know, he doesn't have the height or the size to really be pushed at that main event level, you know, similar to a lot of other guys. He just doesn't have that look. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. The Miz is an awesome promo, you know? The Miz is awesome. The stuff he did on Talking Smack was unbelievable. The Miz is definitely one of the best talkers in WWE, and I think that has been a major factor in him being one of the bigger stars in WWE, but not the biggest. You know, that has definitely helped him, but you really have to have all the attributes, and quite frankly, if you're tall or you're very muscular, you're probably going to be pushed over a guy who is just good in the ring or even a good talker. I think Vince's number one attribute that he's looking for is size and height. And if you don't have that, then it's going to be an uphill battle. This one comes from Patrick. Concerns about Goldberg working a lengthy match could mean another squash match at WrestleMania, but this time with Brock Lesnar as the winner? That would not surprise me at all. I would not be surprised if we see Survivor Series, but reversed, where Brock Lesnar just dominates Goldberg and wins a 2-minute match. Would not surprise me at all. I'm hoping that we get to see an actual fight that goes back and forth, and we see some meat to the match. We see some kind of back and forth confrontation, and it's an actual fight, a war between these two gladiators. I'm hoping they'll do something like a no-holds-barred match or a false count anywhere, or something where Goldberg's limitations can be hidden and they can do stuff on the outside, brawl in the crowd, that sort of thing. And we actually get something that is satisfying to finally end this thing once and for all. If Brock just beats Goldberg in 2 minutes, I mean, to me that's pretty cheap, and maybe that's all they can do. Maybe that's all Goldberg is capable of doing is a 2-minute match where he takes a few bumps and that's it. But I'm really hoping there's more to it and there's an actual satisfying conclusion to this story that's being told. And it truly is the final encounter between these two. You know, when it's over, you want to look back at it and say these two beat the holy hell out of each other, and it was the fight to end all fights. And I'm hoping that fans are satisfied with it, but I have my serious doubts that will be the case. And on the similar topic from Louis, should Brock versus Goldberg be a street fight as a way to make the match longer and more interesting? That would definitely be a reasonable idea for WrestleMania, to have these two be in a match where they're brawling in the crowd and it's not confined to the ring where they have to have a normal wrestling match. I think that would be a logical way to hide Goldberg's weaknesses and play to his strengths, and let it be a street fight. Let these two bulls clash horns and just go all out, and let this be, like I said, the fight of all fights, and give the fans a satisfying conclusion to this storyline. One can only hope. I would definitely consider doing that, but who knows if Goldberg is even capable of that. We really don't know. He hasn't really been put to the test, and we don't know what he's capable of at this stage of the game. This one comes from Deplorable Hamp. Why do people still complain and say they're not going to watch anymore when they know exactly what is going to happen? I think fans complain about just about anything because they're very passionate. I think all of us as fans, we want to see WWE at its creative best. We know what WWE is capable of when they are at their best. We've seen over the years some great WWE entertainment, and I think for a lot of us, it's frustrating when we see the company just walking on a treadmill. They're just doing the same old predictable routine, which is good for them as a business. They're making money, but creatively, they can do better. We know WWE can do better. So it's frustrating when we see them going the predictable route and just going strictly by what works as a business rather than doing something creatively and thinking outside the box and taking some chances. I think that's why fans complain, because they know WWE can do better, and as a company, they just don't take the chances that they used to take. This one comes from Dead Autumn. Why did WWE put DQs and countouts in ECW matches? In my opinion, that is what made WWE CW fail. There are a lot of reasons why that rebooted version of ECW did not work, and I will just sum it up here real quickly. The WWE ECW did not work because it was not the old ECW. WWE was trying to turn it into a watered down version of what the original ECW was. I think that it was a mistake to reboot ECW. ECW was a product of its time. It was a renegade underground wrestling promotion, and once it's on mainstream television and you try to make it mainstream, it's no longer what it once was. And doing ECW in the big arenas, that wasn't what ECW was about. It was running in the bingo halls and the small venues. That was part of the charm to the old ECW. ECW was not a corporate entity. So when WWE rebooted ECW, it was set up for failure from the beginning. And ECW was something that was a product of the 90s. And you look at NXT. NXT works because it is an alternative to the mainstream WWE, and it was something new. What made NXT work was was catering to the hardcore fans, but it was a different presentation than what ECW was. Rather than trying to recreate the past, they came up with an entirely new concept to appeal to those hardcore fans as an alternative to the mainstream Raw and SmackDown product. This one comes from Banks Club 27. Do you think that AJ Styles at the level he is now could have been successful in the Golden and Attitude Era? Probably not. I think that AJ Styles, again, like I was talking about earlier, the number one factor in getting over for many years was being tall and being very muscular. AJ Styles was not the prototype of a Vince McMahon WWE superstar for many years. And even now, one could argue he's still not the ideal looking person that WWE wants to push. I think AJ Styles has succeeded because things have changed and there have been new guys getting over that do not look like the stereotypical Vince McMahon idea of what a WWE star should look like. AJ Styles has been able to succeed because of guys like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan overcoming the odds and being able to become major stars despite not having that look. AJ Styles, I think, made the right decision to wait it out. If he had agreed to the developmental deal back in 2001, I think he would have gotten lost in the shuffle. I think that he would not have succeeded at the level he's succeeding at now. I think the timing worked for him to wait it out. And, you know, the business changes and things evolve, and now, you know, we're seeing guys that are succeeding, but I still understand Vince's viewpoint. You know, when you look at wrestling superstars, they are larger than life characters, and, you know, part of that being larger than life is looking the part, looking like somebody who stands out in a crowd. Somebody like Brock Lesnar, when you see him in an airport, his presence is felt. You know, he's a huge guy, he's very muscular. He looks the part of somebody who's larger than life. He doesn't look like a normal human being. And somebody like an AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan, you know, they're in a crowd, you might not notice them. They might not stand out because they look more like a normal human being. So I understand the Vince viewpoint, but at the same time, AJ Styles definitely has a larger than life ability in the ring. He can do things athletically that 99% of human beings cannot do. So that makes him, in his own way, larger than life. This one comes from Sean T. Flick. Could Elias Samson coming to the main roster just be another attempt to get Roman Reigns over? Will it work? I would be very surprised if we see the Drifter against Roman Reigns. I think that it's more likely if he ends up on the main roster, and quite frankly, I'm not sure if he's really a big enough star to be on the main roster. To me, the act, even on NXT, is like bottom of the card. I'm not sure if he will be able to have any kind of real success on the main roster. You look at somebody like Tyler Breeze, who was doing fairly well in NXT, but again, even Tyler Breeze wasn't pushed as one of the top NXT stars, and when he came to the main roster, he quickly got lost in the shuffle, and he's just lucky to have a spot on the roster, period. Maybe they could come up with something for the Drifter, but I think it'll be similar to like the Vaudevillains and Tyler Breeze. He'll come in, maybe he'll get a brief push somewhere in the mid-card, and then he'll just be a guy. He'll be a body. He'll be used to put over rising stars. I doubt we're going to see Samson brought in and put into a feud with Roman Reigns. I doubt he'll get even that kind of a push. This one comes from G Host. Do you think WWE should limit celebrity and women's inductions to every other year opposite of each other? To me, it doesn't really matter. I think that people just need to accept the Hall of Fame for what it is. It is a promotional tool for WWE. They like to generate the headlines, and yes, it is to celebrate the careers of past superstars that made significant accomplishments, but at the same time, it's not like there's any kind of criteria for the Hall of Fame. They will induct anybody they feel like inducting. It comes down to what Vince McMahon wants to do and who's on good terms with WWE. It's all about the politics. It's not really about who was the biggest star in a particular era and should that person be recognized for being one of the biggest stars. It's about WWE wanting to generate headlines. And I think that if it comes down to inducting a celebrity, if there is a good choice, they'll do it every single year. They'll induct a celebrity if they can generate a headline, and they'll do that every year. I mean, ideally you should induct the biggest names that have made the biggest contributions, but the WWE Hall of Fame, it's a different breed than, say, a Sports Hall of Fame or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, it's a work. It's whatever WWE wants it to be. And I think people, you know, for me personally, I'm beyond getting upset about it. I know people get worked up, well, this person should not be in, and why are they inducting this celebrity? I mean, at this point, like I always say, it is what it is, and people just need to let it be what it's going to be. I do understand the passion, though, and I can understand the frustrations that fans have, but I think we've long passed that point of where it really matters now. I mean, a decade ago, I could see making the argument and really having the energy level to make a big deal out of it, but now I think it's just a waste of time to really get worked up about it. This one comes from Javier Reyes. Asuka is advertised for the live SmackDown event in Madison Square Garden. Is she coming up to the main roster soon? I would think so. I would think of the women in NXT, she would be at the top of the list to get called up. But the question is, you know, I talk about this in other videos, who's going to replace her as the top female star? Is it going to be Ember Moon? Is she really a big enough star at this point to carry the women's division in NXT? You know, I definitely feel WWE should call up some more female superstars from the indies into NXT, but until that happens, I'm not sure. I mean, to me, it's iffy. Maybe Asuka gets called up at WrestleMania or right after WrestleMania, but would not surprise me if she sticks around in NXT for another 6 months and they wait until SummerSlam later in the summer to call her up to the main roster. I think she should definitely get her opportunity, but again, it comes down to timing, and WWE definitely wants to keep some people in NXT to have that brand be a draw when they go out doing live events. You want to have some marquee talent to headline those shows. Got this one here from Logan. Hey Aaron, what is Ric Flairs' WWE status? Do you think he'll return to TV in a full-time role? If so, doing what? His status is that he's a goodwill ambassador to WWE, and they will use him when there's a spot for him and when there's a good reason to have him on television. There's no need for him to be on TV every single week, and I do not see him having a regular role. And let's face it, when Flair's on WWE TV, sometimes it's a little bit of a train wreck, and he's a little bit unpredictable, and you don't know what he's going to say at this point. I think because of that, WWE is going to be careful about putting him on television unless there's a good storyline reason to do it. They're not just going to have Ric Flair on WWE television for the sake of having him on TV. I think those days have passed. I think if they put him on television, it'll be to further a storyline rather than just, hey, Ric Flair's in town, let's throw him on television for a random segment. I don't think they're going to do that anymore. I think he will continue to be a goodwill ambassador to the company, and that will be his primary role in WWE moving forward, as it should be. This one comes from Baker Christian. Who is the best Raw GM and SmackDown GMs of all time in your mind? Raw GM, I would have to go with Eric Bischoff. I think Eric Bischoff played the role really well. He was a great talker, and I think he was very entertaining as a heel GM. I think he did a great job in the role, and I do not think anybody was able to follow that up. You look at the GMs after Bischoff, and I think nobody could really pull it off like he could. I also think Teddy Long was a great GM. I think he really exceeded expectations. When they made him GM at first, I was like, Teddy Long, this is pretty random. But then he really excelled. He he really stepped up to the plate and was very entertaining as the GM, and he had a great run. He had a, what was it, 6, 7, 8 year run. If you add all the years together, he had those periods where he was fired and then brought back, and he was the co-GM, but I think he had something like 7 or 8 years when you add it all up as GM, and I think he did really well, and I think he did better than a lot of people, including myself, were expecting him to do. So I would go with Bischoff as the best heel GM and Teddy Long as the best babyface GM. That'll wrap it up for No DQ&A video today. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it on Facebook or Twitter or any other social media site. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the card for WrestleMania 33. WrestleMania season is in full gear. We have WrestleMania coming up. We have the NXT show, of course, coming up. We have TNA news, a lot of things going on in the world of TNA. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding WWE and TNA and the Indies for that matter. A lot of happenings in Ring of Honor as well. NoDQ.com has got you covered with all that. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time for another edition of No DQ&A video.